they didn't really know what they were dealing with, so it was like kind of naked off.
This is, but it's all because of this, right?
Was this the first one?
The first one.
And that's what's the whole elaborate.
We don't have enough really. Yeah, okay. Oh, my brother started this meat.
And the dome survived the storm. The deck broke out. I mean, although the structure is
I'm sure he did. He was very, very supportive of me and Mike when I was growing up in his career.
We've been good. We've been good with these, but like so many businesses around, really struggling.
Very kind.
We can kind of, I mean, I changed, like on our listing, I changed the link lure and said not reviews, and I mean, people are scared.
That's exactly right.
We have had them
It is. It really is, and social media is great for highlighting the problem, but it also has created a little level of fear.
I started off this job with
The nice thing about cattle is
about 10 minutes. So, I mean, they'll be here in 7 minutes.
And so
I didn't have to work time, so I had to do everything I knew about fish, so I had to do it on my personal phone. So now, I have to call me on this. Always check them both. So, every once in a while, I think about conversation.
No, and that's the thing, you don't want to lose all this small business.
Once somebody gets on that route,
and like we can budget because we can say, go to Catawba. I mean, I'm go to other places.
that's the plan. Hopefully, sometime there's some.
but there's several people on the actual here, but in
That's a tough one.
That's the tough because
she does.
that's the really
That's so cool.
Where some of our
exactly, and you don't want
generations back
looking at coming to town and a lot of square guys. So it's just
we kept up to it.
Not know that.
state are trying to figure out because and a lot of these businesses they're not rated to be open. And so
Right.
so the town wants to have the businesses open before traffic starts coming through so people can shop and produce products.
It's very hard.
It's very hard. And it's like you're open.
It's a great way to grow up. You handle the traffic.
It's really tricky. Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, I think we really had hope. I mean, we had hope that it was going to pick up in the spring, and it was interesting because we're actually working harder now than we were. I mean, like, because I think something about, like, they want to stay in an igloo or, whatever else, like, winter bookings were really okay. And then, like, we really had to work hard for April, May, June, and then just hoping, like, traction just takes over.
Exactly.
And then leaf season. I mean, if we can make it to leaf season, we'll be all right.
Absolutely.
And I have let's get to leaf season. Let's just, kind of grade it all down.
So they'll be here about 5 minutes.
Okay.
That's I mean,
just want to make sure you know the speaker will be the governor, the commissioner's team, and then
Okay, perfect. Listen, I'll do whatever you need me to do.
That's great. Thank you
you
so
have to
much.
come down.
Okay, so which one's which of the bees? The bee bull.
Oh yeah, that's Bert. He should be Brutus.
Bird
And Boris. Yeah.
River is
So he's just going through puberty. So it's definitely like, I think we need some help here. That's so funny. But like the guests love, it just brings some life to the land.
I mean, I've been fascinated by it.
Between me and you, there's not a lot of attractions. Although, like we have Catawba, Catawba Falls, and then Catawba, and then Young's Mountains trails open. So there's just a couple, and the wineries are close by. So you kind of just send people to where it's okay. But like the attraction for the summer. You can get out into the woods, but then you've got the lake around the corner to go fish and go bathe, and so trying to figure that out, you know. And like, you know, I'm not like my kids' generation, they want unique experiences. So like we do get a lot of traction with the young kids.
I love it.
It's been really fun. It's but like ask any of my friends to come stay, they're like, no, you know, like well, I think there's some trepidation, and I don't know if it's we uprooted and left Raleigh, and like, you know, there's kind of like, well, they've just gone on with their, and like, no, it's been like blood, sweat, and tears to get this off the ground, you know. Holly Springs, but yeah, that area, yeah, and then our daughter's and most people don't want to take them anyway. Okay, we're moving to the mountains.
What years are they now?
One just graduated, and the other one will be a junior. So, and my son, we're going for the 3P. He's a junior, but we'll see. Well, I think so. I mean, I think there's a little level of pressure, but we'll see. I mean, no, it isn't. I mean, it was a miracle. Like, I was like, how did this happen?
I feel like if we could stabilize those guys for a year or so.
I know. Well, and there's so much in the area. And we were in Wake County before, which was like so competitive. And now we're in Buncombe, which is probably the lowest, but he's a star student. TC? Yeah. It really is. The administration. And he's just worried a little bit about his extracurriculars. He's going for Eagle Scout.
I mean, if you can get, you know,
Camp Stevens just washed away. It's just been a little tricky. I mean, nothing is easy right now, right?
and you can go the other way.
Nothing is easy since the storm.
Are they out?
Really,
Oh no, Zach! Are they out? Oh my god.
They're not. Are you sure?
Okay.
It's like a.
Don't give me a heart attack.
Optical illusion.
It does look like it though, doesn't it? Did it look like it to you?
Yeah, it did, but please don't do that to me. Like, I had no anxiety this morning until like the pulse ran up.
I apologize.
No, it's all right.
other people got
I'm
hit
just,
bad too. They didn't have like,
I'm gonna have heart palpitations about the wall. Oh, the governor, it's no problem. A charging ball. Yeah, I think they would probably be out on the road if they got
my sense, and
I think he's slowing down a little.
yeah, and that's what
the federal government's wrong to understand that. The federal government is a pain to deal with.
please.
Yeah, they'll be here. They should be here any minute.
I'll be down there.
Sorry, they're running 10 minutes late.
I was happy we
That's
were able
probably
to get
normal though, right?
get money to
They're pretty.
Robert Roads and bridges and to get some money to farmers.
I learned.
I mean, I've only been in this job for some months, so I'm just
Okay, we did a good job. We got it done. Then to get it to like where it matters is the harder part.
Yeah.
Foundation, and then we actually got it. It's going. We got one secretary making $40 an hour.
You're like, what?
That's the only
Feeding it all
Jeremy
out.
coming up in the
counts.
Right.
Keep it a nonprofit.
Yeah.
Other than that,
charge with calendar.
it's down there.
Oh, is he leaving? Yeah.
That's how
Should be Jeremy.
I know they had a slew of people coming from
get some kind of
office.
dog days kind of operation like that.
Why can't we take some people?
Oh, really?
In the past, you know.
Yeah, and we tried to flat too. We were there, and we know who there's people asking for it. Should be ashamed of themselves.
All come out with them.
There's folks that apply for that should be.
Yeah.
Told her one.
Good for you. That's my brother runs a solar business in Nashville, and they had their warehouse. Solar panels, batteries. But he was fortunate because what does everybody want?
Who goes there?
So business is good at least.
I thought, were they going to drive him up to make him walk?
Yeah, I think they were talking about driving.
I'm parked all the way at the bottom too.
I thought I was going to the first house. I thought, well, that's not bad. And I looked, all the people were up here. Too far.
I know, I would have done it on that first film, but we had guests staying. And I guess, like, they were like, "Don't
get out. The governor's here."
You know,
Get a little better view.
I know. I'm not about to. I'm not in the position to be turning away guests at the moment. You know.
You should invite them up.
You know, I did. They were like, "Well, no, we have 3 small kids. The last thing the governor needs is like 3 kids trolling around. The bugs and the bull are enough, right?"
Yeah, that bull was down there using his water tank around the field.
I know. Just he's so ready to get out of here. You know.
I do. Is it in the way? Yeah, sure. Not everyone can say that.
Yeah, you'll definitely get cardio on this hill. Yes, hi. Hi, Olivia. Great to meet you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem. We're happy to have you guys. Sorry about the
No, I didn't
trek up
expect
the
cardio
mountain.
today. A little out of breath.
I know. Hey, you're getting the full glamping experience.
Good.
Jerry, how are you? Good to see you. Governor.
Hi, Governor.
How are you?
Good. How's Anna?
She's great.
Good.
Yeah.
We found out her grandparents.
Rutherford County. That's
Yeah.
right. It's good to have you. Yeah.
Hey, how's it
Hey
going?
guys, how y'all doing? Hey.
Got to spend some time with Elizabeth last week.
I really.
Yeah, they had there.
Absolutely.
Governor, good to see you. Brian King.
Governor, thanks for coming back. A lot of times.
Oh, you heard her?
Thank you. Ours too.
Great. Hey, who are you?
Hello, I'm Tessa Mayo, owner of this.
For having us.
Yeah, no, this glamping experience. Huh? Yeah, it's really great.
Right now.
We had over 200 trees down.
How was the trip?
Like, I mean, they
Good.
and over 150 power lines down on this road alone. So a massive tree hit that home, and then
We
it
appreciate it. Go
actually
ahead and top
knocked me
off
off
your
and
tank.
broke off half of
They will. They will.
Oh, weird.
Isn't that crazy? It's like geodesic design. Right? So it's really an honor to have you guys come out and highlight.
A lot of work there.
Absolutely. We're in the best case scenario.
All right, we can get ready whenever you're ready.
Okay, great. Morning, everybody. I'm Josh Stein. I'm pleased to be joined here by Secretary of Commerce Lee Lilly, Brian King, the chair of the Rutherford County Commission. I also see Lieutenant Governor Walter Dalton here. Good to be with you. And pleased that Greg Hicks from the Forest Service is here. Of course, we're at the location that Tessa Mayo, this is Carolina Domes, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
They are hosting us here today, and what a beautiful, beautiful spot on this earth that you have. As you'll hear, Carolina Domes was hit hard by Hurricane Helene last September. They've been working really hard to recover ever since then. As I understand, the words are they are surviving but not yet thriving. And we want for them and all small businesses in Western North Carolina to thrive. My team has been working hard with the Dogwood Health Trust and the Duke Endowment to award more than 2,000 small business grants, and I'm proud that Carolina Domes is one of the recipients of that program. You are turning those funds toward recovery immediately, which is what we want. We, the state and the federal government, need to approach recovery with the same urgency, the same spirit of immediacy that Carolina Domes is. In February, I submitted my first budget request to the General Assembly calling for $1 billion to go toward housing, small businesses and farmers, infrastructure, and families. In March, I was proud to sign my first piece of legislation, a $500 million Hurricane Helene bill, going toward home reconstruction and repair, as well as agricultural aid. This allocation was critical, and it's already making a difference in the lives of people in Western North Carolina. We need every penny of that money, but that money is nowhere near enough. That's why I'm here today to request an additional $891 million from the General Assembly to go toward Helene recovery and our Phase 2 Helene recovery package. We're coming up on 8 months since the storm. That is more than enough time to comprehend just how much we lost during Hurricane Helene. In the face of so many unmet needs and unanswered prayers, it is time for the state of North Carolina to be bold. We need to commit to the people of Western North Carolina that the state is with them over the long haul. The $891 million I'm requesting will tackle the highest priority issues, areas that we cannot afford to wait for an uncertain federal assistance. It will move us forward on the path of recovery by standing up for small businesses, investing in housing, supporting debris removal efforts, repairing schools, and preventing wildfires. The first part of my request directs $260 million to strengthening the regional economy. Earlier this month, I met with a host of small business owners in Marshall. They are doing the best that they can to recover, and the progress they've made in the last 7 months is frankly nothing short of remarkable. But they're still having a hard time attracting customers, and they need to make ends meet. As I mentioned, our partnership has already awarded $55 million in small business grants that are helping get doors open and people re-employed. Even with more than the 2,000 businesses that have received funding, businesses like Carolina Domes, 2.5 times other applied for funding and were turned away because of a lack of sufficient resources. 2,000 got granted, 5,000 were denied. The need is still great. My budget requests small business assistance by offering forgivable loans and by assistance through the Department of Revenue. It also invests in workforce development to ensure that people have the skills that they need to do the jobs that the market demands. It promotes tourism so that people know Western North Carolina is open for business. And it repairs key attractions so they have a great time when they get here. My budget supports revenue-strapped local governments, which are struggling to balance their books after using their funds toward immediate relief. People need job opportunities, they need reliable public services, and they need a safe place to call home. My budget invests $113 million in creating affordable housing, investing in homelessness prevention for folks who have been displaced by the storm, supporting the nonprofits that are already doing remarkable work repairing and rebuilding homes, and providing rental, mortgage, and utility assistance for needy homeowners. It also puts $20 million toward food banks to ensure that our children do not go hungry. Rebuilding has many elements. It includes cleaning debris and repairing damaged schools, fixing our stormwater infrastructure and removing failing dams, rehabilitating our farmlands and cleaning up our streams, and fighting the wildfires that continue to plague our state. We've already seen a number of wildfire outbreaks across the state this spring, including in this part of the state. We recently learned from our federal partners that North Carolina has nearly 8 times the amount of fuel on the ground than we had a decade ago. 8 times more fuel on the ground. North Carolina is projected to have the highest risk of wildfires in the United States over the next year. That is a title we do not want. My budget calls for nearly $50 million in essential equipment and personnel to respond to wildfires and prevent them from breaking out. The final part of my budget request is related to federal funding. Many streams of federal support require a state matching component. The Department of Public Safety projects that our state will ultimately need to invest about $1 billion to unlock all of the federal assistance programs that we need. So for now, I'm proposing that we appropriate another $100 million to make sure that we continue to leverage the federal funds and keep them flowing into our state. This recovery is going to take a long time. My administration, though, is in this for the long haul. I know that the legislature is as well. I thank the General Assembly for what it has done to date, but now is not the time for us to take our foot off the gas. We have to continue to invest in Western North Carolina so that it can come back stronger than ever, and sooner the better. I look forward to partnering with the General Assembly to pass this budget proposal. We've done this before, and we will do it again. So let's come together. Let's stand up for the people of Western North Carolina. Thank you. It's now my pleasure to bring forward Secretary of Commerce, Mr. Lee Lilly.
Good morning, everyone. Glad to be with you all today here in beautiful Western North Carolina. I'm Lee Lilly, Secretary of Commerce for the state of North Carolina. Just 2 weeks ago, I was in Madison County meeting with leaders in the towns of Marshall and Hot Springs. Went to Mars Hill, visited with the leadership of the Blue Ridge Parkway, and I learned more about their recovery efforts and needs since Helene devastated their communities, decimated their downtowns, and closed their trails. These mountains and its people all had one message to me and one message they wanted us to share, and that was, come to Western North Carolina. Come spend your money, come spend your time, because we're working back and we need that investment of the people to come back to Western North Carolina. So I'm making that request today. Come to Western North Carolina. That's what my wife and my family are going to do this Memorial Day weekend. I'm a Eastern North Carolinian, usually end up on the coast for Memorial Day, but not this year. This year we're coming to Western North Carolina to enjoy the holiday. This time of year is incredibly important to the region as the travel and tourism season begins in earnest. Our tourism team at Visit NC are working with the governor and my department to support tourism and small businesses for the upcoming season. And in this governor's budget, we propose an additional $15 million in marketing and advertising for Western North Carolina. In Western North Carolina, this season starts with warm temperatures like we have today that are perfect for outdoor adventuring, and then finishes with the colorful palette of fall leaves as we move into fall. The recovery won't happen in isolation, and the small businesses, mom and pop shops, they all need us to spend more time and more money in these communities. These local economies are counting on the visits and the vacations to help them. We need to help them rebuild, and that's why Governor Stein's budget calls for $260 million to stand up for small businesses out here, as he's described. No matter what we do, we have to do so with urgency. When I took the job as the Secretary of Commerce, the governor asked me to be responsible for community revitalization and to manage a large federal grant, which I'll talk to you a little bit more about. But he said his first principle in recovery is urgency, and that's what we want to bring to bear today and every day. North Carolina was awarded by the federal government a $1.4 billion community development block grant for disaster recovery, which we will use to meet unmet needs, primarily in housing recovery, but also in infrastructure and economic revitalization. We submitted to the federal government an action plan, the fastest any state has done so in over a decade, and it's since been approved by the federal government. We're now in the process of financial certification and a grant agreement. And our mission is to open this program to the people of Western North Carolina this summer, get hammer swinging, and get people home. That's what urgency means to this administration. We're also responsible at Commerce at the Rural Economic Development Division for accepting applications for a separate $55 million grant program. The governor talked about the small business program. This is the Small Business Infrastructure Program, which was funded generously by the General Assembly. I want to thank Representative Eric Ager, who is here today on behalf of the General Assembly. This program will support small business infrastructure needs. Local governments will be the recipients, and they can spend these funds up to $1 million per applicant on public infrastructure like sewers, sidewalks, high-speed internet, all of which small businesses rely upon to get customers in their doors. This is a state-funded program, and it will help our small businesses in Western North Carolina come back stronger. So I want to thank Governor Stein for his leadership, for the leadership of local officials, for the leadership of small business owners, and all the ordinary people who work every day to help this region recover. Together, we'll help Western North Carolina rebuild and recover quickly as possible. And together, we'll continue to work with the General Assembly and our other statewide partners to provide the resources necessary that support Western North Carolina businesses, communities, and workforce. I now want to invite one of those great local leaders, the chairman of the Rutherford County Board of Commissioners, Mr. Brian King.
You know, I'm not a smooth talker. I was asked to be here today, and there were a couple of things they asked me to do. They say, tell us what it was like, what happened, and what's happening now. So I'm going to try not to get emotional about this, but here I go. We had declared a state of emergency for Rutherford County within minutes of the governor declaring the state of emergency for North Carolina. This allowed for assets to be deployed in case they were needed, and boy, they were needed. We were thrown into darkness. We had no power. We had no communications. Roads were washed away, or they were blocked by trees. It was surreal. It was like a nightmare. Power was out for at least a week for most, out for more than a week for others. Communication to the outside world was out for almost a week. We were literally in the dark. I'll come off my little speech here and say, somebody said, well, I heard the state of North Carolina wasn't responding. Well, they were calling, we just couldn't answer. If you could find a gas station during that time that was open, or a grocery store that was open, it was cash only. Credit cards didn't work. It was surreal. We've all seen the pictures, but it was the people that made the difference. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank Rutherford County employees across all departments that went into action starting on day one. I'd like to thank the governor's office and the state of North Carolina for sending the resources. The state emergency management team, and I'm going to leave somebody out, I'm sorry, not on purpose. The state emergency management team, the Department of Transportation, the Highway Patrol, the National Guard, North Carolina Department of Aviation, the NC Department of Agriculture, and many others joined together in the early rescue and recovery efforts. We had volunteers from across the country and assistance from federal agencies, the FBI and others assisting with the efforts. Thank you all. Excuse me. As chairman of Rutherford County, I was able to witness scores of dedicated people working together in a crisis to serve their fellow man. I am personally grateful for each and every one. That was then. Today, I'd like to recognize and thank our guests for being here. The impact of the hurricane is still being felt by many of our citizens. We lost income. We lost money. and in some instances we lost jobs. I'm a miller by trade, and we have a saying, goodness grows in North Carolina. I'm hopeful that we can plant the seeds of recovery and grow goodness in Rutherford County. Agriculture is important to this state and western North Carolina. Restoring our farms is important in many ways. The Department of Commerce and the Governor's Office role in partnering with the counties to bring new industry and jobs in the impacted area has been critical, very critical. The recent announcement at our last county commissioner meeting of new jobs coming to Rutherford County would not have happened without this teamwork and focus on the restoration in Western North Carolina. Thank you both. Finally, I would like to thank the leadership teams in state government for providing grants and opportunities for those small businesses that suffered so much due to losses from the storm. Holly Jones, where's Holly? With the Governor's Office stated at a recent meeting of Western North Carolina government representatives that the Council of Government, leading by the Governor, at each meeting, the topic of the recovery is number one. It's the first thing they talk about. Goodness will grow in Rutherford County and Western North Carolina. Thank you for everyone being here today, and thank you for your efforts. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. King. My name is Tessa Mayo, and my husband and I are the owners of Carolina Domes. We opened Carolina Domes in 2022 when our daughters had left home and gone to college at UNC Chapel Hill. We bought the land and built the domes, and we quickly fell in love with the sense of community and the feeling of being outdoors. Starting a new business is no easy feat, but we put in the work and we started to build traction. We never could have anticipated that 18 months in, Hurricane Helene would hit. When the hurricane swept through, we had guests staying in these domes. We knew it would rain, but we didn't think it would be much more than that. In truth, I look around me and I can't believe any of this survived the storm. More than 200 trees fell on the property, including one massive tree that hit one of the domes. My family and I were in survival mode, without access to water or electricity for weeks, immobilized with a flood-damaged car. In a situation like that, you realize how many basic necessities we neglect to appreciate. In the nearly 8 months since, we've been working 7 days a week to try and build our business back. It took us weeks to cut through all the felled trees. But even beyond the physical obstacles, being able to regain traction towards our business has been another challenge. Our lifeline has been social media, reduced rates in order to attract visitors, and staying busy. We are so fortunate to have a business that we can rebuild in the wake of the storm, but it was crucial we had the support in the process. With the small business grant we received, we have been relieved of some of the financial strain, allowing us to focus and remain on keeping operations growing. We work hard and we weren't looking for a handout, but we wouldn't have done this alone. Despite working around the clock for months, we've had a hard time attracting visitors because so many of the businesses around us are still working to recover. And even though we haven't been able to consistently book out our domes, the rent and utilities still have to be paid. When it comes to an economy so dependent on tourism, every small business recovery attracts outside commerce, benefiting the whole community. We need the Lake Lure area to recover more broadly so that people will even want to visit and stay in our domes. And we need the support, letting people know that we're open for business and they will have a great experience, whether they stay here or anywhere in the area. I am grateful to Governor Stein for using this opportunity to highlight Carolina Domes. And I urge the General Assembly to pass more funding so that small businesses can recover and the tourism industry can rebound stronger than ever. Thank you guys so much for coming.
Wonderful. At this point, happy to take any questions. You can address any of the speakers. I also have our budget director here if you want to get into the details of the budget request, but the floor is yours.
Laura Hackett with Blues Public Radio. Can you speak specifically to the revenue replacement that you're talking about for local governments? Would that be in the form of a grant? Are you recommending a loan? It
would be a grant. What we have heard from county commissions, what we've heard from towns, is it's a double whammy. That their revenues are down because businesses aren't getting as much traction. They basically aren't making as much money on sales tax or any form of tax. at the same time that their expenses have shot through the roof in terms of responding to the infrastructure needs resulting. In many instances, some of those expenses are reimbursable by the federal government. Too often, that has been slow. We've been working hard with FEMA to get those funds flowing. But you have an instance where revenues have declined at the same time expenses have increased. What we don't want is for local governments to be forced to lay off a percentage of their workforce that normally provide important services to the people because they don't have enough revenue. That's what these grants from the state to the local government can help. We just want local government to continue to operate effectively to serve their constituents' needs.
Thank you. One more question. How can FEMA work more effectively? We've heard from a lot of people that money is trickling in, they're not getting it in time. I know you wrote a letter with some recommendations. Can you speak to some of the recommendations you have for FEMA?
I do want to thank FEMA. Until recently, I was having a regular phone call with the FEMA administrator, and we would have a list of projects that were in need of reimbursement, and we were systematically working our way through that list to get those funds flowing to local governments. And I hope that with the new leadership at FEMA, we continue to work in such a constructive fashion. This storm has shown that FEMA has sort of become a contraption that has been built on storm after storm after storm with different kinds of restrictions and requirements, making it very slow to respond. I have just written a letter to the President's FEMA Advisory Council urging them to improve FEMA, not eliminate it. The talk about eliminating FEMA makes no sense because storms happen all across this country. They don't happen in each state every year. And so we can't create a permanent infrastructure with the knowledge and expertise to respond to storms if we don't have one for 3 or 4 years. They're just sitting there doing nothing. Whereas if we have a federal response that has that expertise and technical assistance as well as the resources of the federal government, then they can help whatever local government or state gets impacted by a storm down the road. So we want to improve FEMA, not eliminate it.
Governor, we've had several folks reach out to us about their concerns about their home insurance going forward after Helene. Some have been dropped off of their insurance. Others are seeing their rates go up. What can you tell those folks?
Yeah, no, we're very concerned. We need to make sure that we build back in a resilient fashion so that property insurers will continue to do business in Western North Carolina. If prices go up, that can be problematic. I urge you to reach out to the Commissioner of Insurance, Mike Causey. I know he will take those concerns very seriously.
We'll do one more question. Governor Stein, last week Grandfather Mountain announced that the Blue Ridge Parkway has some renovations planned that are supposed to start right around the Highland Games. I know the Blue Ridge Parkway is federally run, but have you guys been in talks with them about how that could really affect things with getting that tourism back to Western North Carolina?
Yes, Secretary Lilly referenced his conversations with the folks who oversee the Blue Ridge Parkway, and we're trying to work with them to be rational about what they repair when. We don't want them to take some sections that are currently operable offline for repairs during the summer months when there are so many other sections that could use repair because they can't be used at all right now.
We'll take last question from WLOS.
Okay, so I'm Cody with WLOS. Last week, House Speaker Hall was in Swannanoa and said that basically that it was up to you guys in order to get those funds flowing. Can you talk to that?
Yeah, I'm incredibly proud of the team in my administration. They have been working their tails off. As Secretary Lilly noted, our primary goal has been urgency. But we have urgency, focus, transparency, and accountability. And when you put all those together, of the funds that we have the ability to allocate, about 80% have been spent. That's why I'm coming back to the General Assembly for this additional appropriations request. It's the next phase. So we understand when we get money, it's important that we put that money to work. That's exactly what this administration has been doing.
Are there funds that you're not able to allocate?
There are some funds that are matching funds that have to be held in reserve. There are some funds that were designed with restrictions on them that cannot be spent. And there were some funds that were, while well intended, there simply was not uptake. And what we have proposed in this budget is to take about $45 million of previously allocated funds where there just simply is not demand for the program that was designed by the legislature to reallocate them to these other programs like the Small Business Forgivable Loan Initiative, where we know there is vast demand. We want the funds to get to work. And Yeah.
Real quick, what
Thank
were
y'all.
some of the
We're good.
what were some
We're
of the
good. We're
programs that
done.
weren't getting
We're
funded?
done.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate
Can we
you.
get a group picture with all the speakers, please?
Yeah. How about on the stairs?
Yep. Love it.
Yeah, come on, Eric. Come on before service.
Thank you, Megan.
Come on in here. Here we go. Oops, sorry. One more. Here you come. Good. Not too tall. Let me go back up. There we go.
All right, 1, 2, 3. Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you guys.
Thank
Thanks.
you.
Good luck with everything.
I really
Good to meet you, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you.
appreciate
Well, you know, it needs to be